welcome back. And if you tuned in late today, Dr. Roger Rhodes is here, and we're talking about, it's hard to believe. I mean, I haven't gotten over Easter, and here it is, ready to think about the holidays. And so he's trying to give us some common sense tips on how we can stay calm, be with the people we love, and enjoy without just absolutely wearing ourselves into a frazzle.
Yes, because that's what holidays are really about. Thanksgiving, the reason we have a Thanksgiving dinner is to give thanks.
Yeah.
You know, that these are holidays to celebrate. But if I'm worried about everything, if there's so many loose ends, if we just forget, we don't live in the same house. But you brought up a point at the break, which is the fact that some people live in the same area. And psychologically, I want people to know those people tend to be easier to get along with.
Yeah.
You know, we eat the same kind of food, we go to the same kind of grocery store, we watch the same kind of programming. They tend to get along. But as we both talk about, that is not normal today. Usually you have I got a person who lives in Oklahoma.
That's
I got
right.
another person who lives in Texas.
Yeah.
I got another person in Virginia.
And most families are like that now.
Yeah. And so we're just really different people. We've grown up to like different stuff, to operate in a different way. And so if we don't plan, if we don't communicate before the celebration, before the Thanksgiving, then what I'm saying today as a therapist is you're setting the family up for conflict. And those times are not going to be noted for their good times, but for their bad times. Oh, boy, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. And if you have children, I think it's so important to put all these things aside and try to have peace and love. If you only have a hamburger, but have the peace and the love and the sharing together.
I
and
totally
if you don't
agree
have
with you.
the fancy turkey dinner and all that, that isn't the thing that really matters.
Right. The fact that it's a time, holiday season should be a time to reconnect with blood. That's what it should be, a time to reconnect with blood, if you can. And if you can't be around blood, be around the blood you are with, the church blood. You know, that's what it's for. It's not for you to sit with your one candle and your one piece of turkey and go, aren't we having a good time? And be by yourself. No. It's a time to celebrate and to be a part of people. And when you live in the same town, the same area, that's easier to happen. And it's easier to get along.
But people are so spread out now.
Oh, buddy. And they just have we forget people change. We have changed. That's hard for us to grab. You know, I'm not the same 8-year-old Roger Rhodes from Wewoka, Oklahoma. That isn't who I am now. I've been lots of places, been part of a lot of things. So I'm different. And I daily interact. I think it was great. My wife told me just the other day, do you realize, Roger, you've lived in Greenville longer than you ever lived in Oklahoma? I went,
You have to realize
that just shook me. I said, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And so, but if I expect to go back as the 8-year-old Roger, that's a setup for me, and it's a setup for my family. You know, and even like with kids, like you're talking about, you have kids and you bring kids. Another thing families need to communicate is how are we, not you, how are we going to discipline the kids? If they do something, how are we as a family going to handle it? Because a lot of times people come in and one person's going to grab the arm and spank them in front of maybe 2 other families that don't spank their kids at all. Is that going to be a conflict? Yes. Mm-hmm. Or if I say stop that, and they're saying, wait a minute, I didn't give you permission to stop that. You're not their parent. I'm their parent. I tell them when to stop. You don't tell them. See, there's conflict again. Those are different ideas, different ways. But if I've talked about it and said, okay, if something goes wrong, this is the way we're going to handle it. And the people like to say, well, we're family. We don't need to communicate. They're nuts. That's a setup, Peggy. Don't do that. Yes, we need to communicate. And we need to clear the air. And we need to know the rules. You know?
All right, so what I'm hearing from you is that the key to a good holiday, a stress-free, kind of stress-free
Yeah.
holiday, if you can manage it, is to plan ahead.
Yeah, and talk. See, think
If
about
somebody's
this.
going to have the dinner
Yeah,
and people are going to bring something, make a list and say, all right, this person could bring this and this person could bring, and then everybody knows what's expected of them.
right. I want you. You could say, I want you to bring something.
Or
What
what would you like to bring?
bring?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm going to give you some control over that. But I need help. I'm not going to be able to do it. How many times you see people who have Christmas and Thanksgiving who do it all and are martyrs? Oh, look at all I've done, and here that people don't appreciate me, and it causes a friction in the family. No, it's nothing is greater than everybody pitched in. It was a family affair. We all knew what was going on. I have yet to hear one family after that say it was a bad moment. Every time, Peggy, they say, we had a great time. Everybody got to communicate. I understand where they're coming from. I understand who they are now. Hoo-wee. Huge, huge. And that's what Christmas and Thanksgiving ought to be. It ought to be a time to re-educate it. You know, you got a child that lives up in the Northeast. Now, we have no idea what that's like sitting here in South Carolina. I guarantee you, he's living in a foreign country, even though it's part of the United States. If he's living in the Northeast versus South Carolina, it's foreign. Mm-hmm. So he has a lot of information to bring in. And boy, does he want his mom and dad to know that. To let him, and here's another thing that's hard, is to let our kids grow up. You know, it's easy. Oh, I remember when they were babies. Well, they do too, but they're not, and they don't need to, chew that over and over again. What they need to do is enlighten, and that puts a lot of energy in. Well, I got to share with mom and dad where I am today, and they acknowledge that I was an adult. Again, I've never seen anybody go, well, that was a bad moment. Everybody goes, thank God, man, it was a great time. I loved it. And they go along and they carry that as a post-celebration. They get on the plane, they get in the car, they go back to the house, and they're still talking about it 2 or 3 months later of what a great moment it is. But if they go back and they say, yeah, got treated like I was 8 years old, nobody got along, everybody kind of, acted like they were in prison eating, protecting their food, couldn't wait to get it down their throat and clean it up and go home. Wow, what a wonderful holiday. No, that's terrible. And that's not what was meant to happen. And years ago, Peggy, much easier to have that kind of holiday. Harder. And that's why we're throwing the flag today. We're just saying it can be like it used to be if you plan.
Okay.
If you communicate, if you don't make people guess, and you don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. And that's what we're talking about. We're trying to put 15 people in a house that holds 2. That's a bad idea. It's better that you go out someplace and eat at a big restaurant. That'd be better because at least people would have some air. It takes a certain amount of square feet for people to work with. Do you have enough where you're having it? And I love when I had a holiday with my grandparents, they recognized that. They realized our house is just not big enough for all our extended everybody. So they took everybody out to the garage, and they put up sawhorses and plywood and made a table, big old long table for everybody to eat. They had a back door. They left that open.
You still remember that fondly,
yes.
See?
Because everybody got along, and I know those people, and they weren't easy to get along with. As individuals, they were not easy. I hate to say it, but they weren't. They were hard people. They had an opinion. Nothing's funnier than get 4 or 5 opinions in the same room. That can get ugly. But see, it was set up. We had room. The kids, the back door was open. The kids could go out in the backyard, play, come back in. So there was all this movement, and so I think fondly of it. I think that was a good time. It was a special moment. And I can remember hating having to get back in the car and go home.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to miss these people. I'm not going to see them for a while.
So the key for all of us, is what you're saying, is to plan a little bit ahead. And, you know, if you're having the dinner, then tell people what you expect of them.
Yes.
And in a nice
People
way. In a
appreciate
nice
that.
way.
Yeah,
you know.
but people appreciate that. Nothing's worse than
Yeah.
I don't know what they want from me. I don't know what they're expecting from me.
So
That's
what we do is sit down and decide what we're going to do, and very nicely ask other people to participate.
And
that cuts the stress right out.
And you and I but well know, when asked nicely, most people are good for it. But
And
you got to look at how
the-
you're asking.
The joy of holidays, especially if you have children, is sharing. And then when they're grown, they look back and remember, as you were talking about when you were a small child. That's the joy of holidays, is creating something that we can remember with joy.
And another thing, I love that you said that right there, Peggy, is if you're talking to your children from another state, say what you say is no, they don't care. I guarantee you when you say, "Oh no,
Oh yes, we have to go get ready for the holidays right
get
now.
ready for the
Thank you,
holidays.
Dr. Roger Rhodes, for helping us with some good ideas. And stay stress-free. We'll see you next time.